Hi, Jeannine.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, so great to see you.
You too.
Thanks for giving me some of your time today. I love that you're in your closet right now. I'm totally jealous, as every girl would be.
I love it. It's my happy place.
It is a happy place, for sure. Well, how about we start with you telling everybody who you are and what you're all about?
Okay, my name is Jeannine Bieda, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in December 2012 at 36 with no family history. And it was Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas,
Merry
which was
Christmas.
yeah, that was fantastic. So I decided to do a lumpectomy and radiation and 10 years of tamoxifen.
Wow, that must have been devastating, especially at 36. No one thinks breast cancer is possible at 36. It's just so
No, and I
young.
don't, and that's not even as young as people are when they are diagnosed. There's people in their 20s. I've met an 18-year-old. And these are all people that it did not run in their family. And I think that's just a misconception because if only 10% of cancer diagnoses are genetic. And I don't think people understand how low that number is.
So you didn't have the BRCA gene.
Correct. Did
Wow.
not.
Wow.
Did not.
So when you were diagnosed with cancer, obviously it was a shock and unexpected, and you didn't run in your family, you said. Did your
Mhm.
doctor talk to you about preserving your fertility or anything regarding that? I mean, were you married at this time?
Yes, I was married 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind when you're diagnosed, and so then it. Do you want to have kids? Do you ever want to have kids? Or, like, should we, or what are we gonna do? Or and you're like, what? Like, because you're still accepting the cancer, and then they throw this at you. So if you're gonna do like, what do you have to do before you start treatment? And it's
Mm.
extremely overwhelming. And I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go because, like, that really wasn't where my mind was. It was about the cancer.
Surviving and beating
Correct.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Correct. And I know everyone who was pushing me to do it was pushing me to reserve to preserve my eggs was because they wanted me to have a choice. And I'm glad. I'm really glad that they pushed me to do it. So yeah, they were very supportive. My doctors were all supportive and thought that it was a good idea. Just even if I decided not to have kids, it was more about giving me the choice that it taking some control back because the cancer took everything away as far as my control. So I this was something I could control. So
Wow.
I did it.
And what year was this?
Well, I was diagnosed December 2012, so January 2013 was when I had the lumpectomy. So right after the lumpectomy, they're like, boom, boom, we need to take care of this. So February
So
2013.
you actually had the lumpectomy before you froze your eggs.
Correct.
And then
Correct.
and then before you started chemo or radiation, then you did the cryopreservation.
Correct. Before radiation. Correct. I
Wow.
elected not to do chemo, but yeah,
Right.
yes.
And then did they tell you like who to go to or what doctor to talk to, or do they have like a network, a team?
Oh yes, definitely. They guided me towards Northwestern, their fertility team. So that's where I went, and I went for
In
an initial like
Chicago?
correct in Chicago. And I spoke with I had a meeting with them first to even see I still didn't know if I wanted to do it. Like
Wow.
I didn't. Like I had no idea because there was a lot involved in that. It's not just, oh, let's go in and get I literally thought they just go in and take the eggs and it's over. Like I didn't know like the shots and the which
Hormones.
I felt like my body was already so upset with me hormonally because my cancer fed off of estrogen.
Mm.
So I didn't know if I should make it more mad by injecting myself with these hormones. Like that was a real concern of mine. But I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. And I figured these people must know what they're doing. So I went along with it. But it took a couple meetings for me to decide. And my husband's supportive. He said to me he didn't marry me to have children. So that meant everything to me.
Wow.
You know.
Now, did you guys
And
ever talk about children before you got married?
we did, yeah, definitely. But we took care of my father-in-law for years, for 8 years, and he passed away in 2012. So it was a great year. Yay, 2012. And I was so happy to see it to be to end. But so he was our child. And that was someone, when you're taking care of someone who's sick and elderly, that's really basically you're the caregiver. And we could not even think about bringing a kid into that situation.
No way.
So, of course, the plan was he had passed in March of 2012, and then December of 2012 I was diagnosed. So the plan was in 2013 we'll start planning our yeah, and we wanted
this all disrupted those plans.
Correct.
Right. Wow, that sounds so intense. I can totally relate to you on having kind of that bad year, and just wanting to forget that it even happened. But so when you finally kind of got handheld through the process, did you decide to make embryos? Were you coached on eggs versus embryos, or?
Yes, we were coached on that, and we decided to freeze embryos. They told us that was the more because we're married, and like I know who the baby daddy gonna be, like, so that was basically why they not pushed me but guided me towards that. So I was lucky because I only had to go through one round of the shots. So it was they were able to get 16 eggs for me first time. Wow. Out of the 16, 11 were viable, and then out of the 11, 6 were successfully fertilized. So I have 6 embryos in a freezer.
Wow. And it sounds like you have a very supportive husband, which is fortunate, because a lot of married couples go through a very strenuous time during cancer, and some don't make it. Did the clinic ever talk to you about your legal and rights as far as, like, if you weren't to stay together? I mean, obviously you are, but like what would happen to the embryos if you didn't work out? Did they ever talk about that?
Yeah, we definitely had to sign papers and of who would get, or if we would donate them and whatnot. And we both decided we were 100% against destroying, and 100% towards donating. So that was just a decision we made.
And then what about, like, legally, what would happen to the embryos if you didn't stay married?
To donate.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Correct.
So then neither party would have the, wow.
Correct.
So did you ever feel like a maternal desire when you were younger, or were kids just kind of maybe something you would do if the time was right and when you found your partner, which you did?
Yeah, no, I always thought I would be a mom. Like, I did. I think I just thought that was the steps that, I never had a feeling of, like, I don't want, there's some people that become mothers and you're like, whoa, I'm kind of surprised they became a mom, because, like, I just didn't see it for them. But I always thought, like, I was always the babysitter, and I took care of my little sister, and, like, I
got kids. I always see you running around with them. Right. They're so adorable.
And I adore them so much. And so yeah, I definitely thought, like, and then the right was taken away as far as the traditional.
And how did that make you feel, like, when some of those decisions were taken out of your hands? I mean, have you come to a resolution in your mind now, or was it really difficult, or was it just part of the process of beating cancer?
It took me time to process. I chose not to carry, so, like, that was a year worth of
decision making.
Correct. Yeah, and just really, I had to dig deep and go into my, and see that had to be my decision. It's my body. It was something that my husband and I talked about, and I was definitely, told over and over again, you don't want regrets. But I felt like people, by telling me that they were pushing me to feel that I was going to regret it if I didn't. And I didn't, I was taking what they were saying instead of digging deep into what
you really felt in your heart and soul.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. No matter what, like, I'm very aware that I can get the cancer back, whether I have a child or not. But I think that if we decided to carry, that if I did get it back, I couldn't help myself but think that the pregnancy had something to do with
the
possibly.
reoccurrence.
Correct.
Yeah, it's always like looking over your shoulder waiting for the C word, right? After you have it.
It's not about, right, you don't have a fear of what could happen, you have a fear of what did happen. So like it's not about like what could, it's what did, and that's always there, always there.
Well, you look so upbeat and happy and like you're in a really great place now. So what's new with you today?
We're looking into surrogacy, but it's $1 million. I mean, not really, but and I don't think that's fair, and that's something that I feel really strongly about. For I'm not choosing surrogacy because I want to keep my body. And unfortunately, there's people who have money who can do that for those reasons. I'm doing it because I have to. And some would argue that I don't have to, but in my mind, I have to. So I just don't think it's fair, and I think that's something that needs to change. So
definitely.
I still don't know where I stand, like as far as if this is, we're giving ourselves another year or two to make that decision, and then once we make the decision, like just like we made the decision not to carry, we will make the decision not to have a child,
or to have one. To have one or not to have one.
Correct. And then we'll donate the embryos because I don't want to destroy them.
Do you have any worries or fears about the embryos being donated? Are you donating them to science, or are you donating them to another needy couple?
I would like to donate to a needy couple.
Wow. And both you and your husband don't have any like longing to know what happens to that biological child?
I mean, of course, I think there's part of us, but I also believe that it's the person who raises them that's the parent. And if I could help someone that's suffering in that, and who can't carry or can't produce or whatever it is, then I want to help. But I really feel strongly on that. You don't have to be blood and to be family. So that's just how I feel about that.
Man, I have this crazy thought. What if the couple that let's say you donated them and you decide that you're not going to pursue surrogacy. What if the couple that you donate them to, I don't know, uses them and then decides to help you with giving one to you?
That would be awesome.
That would be you're helping them, but in the same sense they're carrying it for you. And that's a crazy thought, but I mean, things like that can happen in this day and age with technology the way it is. But hopefully you can find maybe an affordable surrogacy. I know that there are some new surrogacy groups out there that are really working on the affordability side of surrogacy.
Yeah.
Because you're right. For the average Joe, it's like giving up a kidney and second mortgage on your home and putting yourself in such a financial burden just to start a family. And that does seem really wrong, especially when you've been through so much and beating breast cancer and being such an advocate. I know you talked very openly about your cancer struggles and even about how you have dense breast tissue. Did you want to expand on any of that?
Well, I just think it's really important, like, to tell all stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's how you really, really, truly, truly raise awareness and spread awareness, is to tell every single story and not just focus on, mammograms and what you see in the breast cancer campaigning world.
Right. Or just the happy endings, because
correct.
The happy endings isn't always possible.
No, and it doesn't mean that they did anything wrong or they didn't pray hard enough or they didn't have the right doctors. It's just is the reality of the disease, and I just think that all those stories are just as compelling as the success stories, and of course they're sad, but they have to be told.
Well, because, and fertility goes so hand in hand with cancer. I mean, literally, they affect each other. So even some of the fertility awareness campaigns that are out there, it's especially when you're bringing oncology and cancer in the mix, like it's such a bigger story.
Definitely. And I don't think that's not talked about enough, because it's still, there's a stigma of over 40 still. you know, and like you have to be over 40, and like, what do you mean they were under 40? And oh, what do you mean it didn't run in their family? And what do you mean you didn't feel a lump? Like, people there's so much assumptions, and I don't think the breast cancer campaigning world is doing enough to knock out those myths, in my opinion. Like, I think that they still focus on, you know, the pink October, and, you know, and mammogram, and that's all you hear about, and all you hear about is early detection, and early detection, of course, saves lives. I'm proof of it, but it's a slap in the face to all the people who are diligent about their screening and got diagnosed with a very late stage cancer at no fault of their own. It's just, again, the reality of the disease, and I don't think that's just not talked about enough.
And
so
part of the reason that can happen is because dense breast tissue is white on a mammogram, right?
Correct, which is the same color as tumors show up on a mammogram. So it's easily hidden. I just recently had a mammogram that they told me, you know, all clear, of course. And because I have dense breast tissue, by law in Illinois, they have to let you know. But that's as far as it goes. Other states, they have to push for or give you an ultrasound. But in Illinois, the law states they just have to let you know. So
mammogram plus ultrasound is the best diagnosis treatment for dense breast tissue.
But you have to push for it. You have to be your own advocate, because on the result, it said recommend breast ultrasound, and they crossed out recommend and put considered. Consider on a girl who had breast cancer and who has extremely dense breast tissue. That's a problem. And if it was someone who didn't know.
Do you think it's because they're afraid to diagnose cancer too early because they don't know what to do with it, especially?
No, I think it's because they just don't want to take those extra steps, because yes, a lot of the times there's nothing. But why would we take that chance?
Right. Why wouldn't we be proactive with our health rather than reactive?
That's reactive, exactly. And if in most cases with anyone under 40, the breast cancer is very aggressive, very aggressive. So the quicker we find it at a younger age, the better. So you know, I think it's insurance. It's a lot of, they don't want to pay. And yes. Exactly. I think of course money comes into play, and I'm not going to blame Big Pharma and all that, because I'm not about that. I think that Big Pharma has bigger
problems.
Yeah, exactly. Has bigger problems, but they also are saving lives. You know what I mean? Like, and I will never take that away from them. And but I think the corporate, it's not the doctors. You know, like, doctors are saving lives. I think it's the corporate part of the medical industry that has that needs work.
It's a very interesting perspective.
I think that they're saving lives as second and making money as first.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to,
especially with the changes in healthcare recently, with the new plans and mandates.
Correct.
Well, I just can't thank you enough for being such an advocate in this space and such a lovely voice and women to network with. I mean, your network is incredible and obviously very responsive to all of the work you've done. Where do you have a lot of your work? Is it on, you have a website or just your YouTube page?
I don't. I literally Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I just created a YouTube page with the first video I ever did on my own. So I'm just, you know, trying to, all I want to do is I don't want anything in return except for to get one girl, you know, if I can just educate half the people who watch that video, then none of this was in vain. Right. And that's what it's all about, giving back.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. We'll definitely keep up with you online, and all the links to your social media will be in the page below. So if anyone watching in our network or in your network wants to stay tuned with how things are going on the baby trail, or maybe not the baby trail,
right?
or what happens in your life in the future, then they can do that, or even reach out to you.
Yes, please do. I love when people reach out and tell me their stories too. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes. Bye.